have more cast-ons for you today. Today we're going to be talking about cast-ons for single rib. If you're not familiar with that term, it basically means a knit one, purl one ribbing. Why just single rib? Well, there are some cast-ons that work for maybe 2x2 rib. Mom would always say, just don't. They're not pretty. They don't work well. So just for single rib. That's what these are used for, and they're pretty cool. The first two she's going to show you is, let's see, there's the alternate tubular cast on, or just alternate cast on, and then the tubular cast on. Many of you who've knit a while are probably familiar with the tubular cast on. Starts with waist yarn. It's a cool cast on. The stitches just, I'm trying to get closer where you can see, wrap the edge where it doesn't even look like a cast on, and it makes a tube. There's actually a tube here that you can run elastic through. It's great for anything that you stretch on or off, like cuffs of sweaters. That way you don't have to worry about the ribbon getting stretched out. The alternate cast on is a better version. It does the same basically thing, but it makes a nicer edge that doesn't tend to spread out. This was Mom's preference over the tubular. This is what we used to do. This is the new better way of doing it. So she's going to show you both of those and compare them and tell you why she likes them better. The last two technically would fall more under the decorative cast-ons, which we're going to get to next time. But since they're just for single rib, we decided to put them in this category. One is a picot cast-on. Again, only works for knit one, purl one rib, and it makes little, see, hold up, you can see tiny picots at the bottom. Aren't they cute? And then there's the Channel Islands cast-on. Very similar, also makes picots, but I would say it's a little bit bolder of an edge. I think that's the term Mom used. A little bit bolder of an edge. They just make kind of a pretty little decorative edge. So here come single rib cast-ons.
The following cast-ons are specifically suited for single rib. This is the alternate stranded cast-on. It alternates a stranded knit with a stranded purl. Using a needle 1 to 2 sizes smaller than you will use for the ribbing, leave a long tail and place a slip knot on the needle. This would also be a good cast-on in which to use a twist start if you prefer. Hold yarns in left hand is for the basic long tail cast-on, except the fingers point to the right instead of up. We will be using the strands on top of the fingers. First, a purl cast-on. Bring the needle under both strands from back to front, then back going over the thumb strand and under the forefinger strand. Make sure after each stitch that the yarns are pulled down so that they cross below the needle. Now for a knit cast-on. From front to back, bring the needle under the strand on the thumb, then over the forefinger strand, then back under the thumb strand. Continue to alternate between a knit and a purl cast-on. I'm making a basic long tail cast-on for the last stitch, although a simple twist cast-on with the thumb yarn actually works just as well, if not better. After casting on, you could change to your ribbing needle and begin your normal 1x1 rib on the next row. Although you can get this nice rounded edge by working 2 to 4 rows of double knitting first. To do this, still on the smaller needle, knit the stitches that face you as a knit and slip purlwise with yarn in front, all stitches facing you as a purl. This swatch has 4 rows of double knitting. As you can see, these 4 rows form a casing and emphasize the rounded cast-on edge. This is the invisible cast-on for single rib. It gives you the same results as the previous alternate stranded cast-on. The edge tends to widen a bit more with this invisible cast-on, which is usually not a desirable attribute for ribbing, but I include how to do this because some knitters find this one easier. Begin with a provisional cast-on and waist yarn. I'm using the crocheted chain, although you can use another cast-on if you prefer. Use a needle 2 to 3 sizes smaller than the ribbing needle. Cast on 1/2 of the total number of stitches needed. If this is an odd number, round up to obtain a whole number. With the project yarn and still using the smaller needle, knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over. Repeat this across the row. If you throw, it will look like this. Yarn over, knit one. Yarn over, knit one. This will end up with an odd number of stitches. If you need an even number of stitches, you will need to increase one stitch at the beginning or end of the second row. Now we are going to work tubular or double knitting on the following rows. Slip one purlwise with yarn in front, knit one. Slip one purlwise with yarn in front, knit one. Repeat this across the row. On the second row, you will knit all of the stitches that were slipped on the previous row and slip purlwise with yarn in front all the stitches that were knitted on the previous row. Work this last row 2 more times if you want 4 rows of tubular knitting. I have worked 4 rows on this swatch. After the tubular rows are complete, change to the ribbing needle and begin the normal knit 1, purl 1 rib. I've removed the waste yarn and this is the final result. This is the tube that is formed. This is the alternate stranded on the right compared to the invisible. Although the invisible is a nice cast on, I think you'll agree that the alternate stranded looks best. This cast on creates a picot edge. I suppose this would be considered a decorative cast on, but I've included it here because it is for single rib. Leaving a long tail, begin with a twist start. The cut in should be on your thumb. First, make a basic long tail cast on stitch. Then work an alternate stranded knit. This was the first of the single rib cast ons. With fingers pointed to the right and working with the strands on top of the fingers, bring the needle from front to back under the strand on the thumb, and then over the strand on the forefinger, then forward under both strands. Then work another basic long tail cast on, and then the knit stranded. Repeat these 2 stitches, ending with a long tail cast on. There is a right and wrong side to this cast on. The next row will be a right side row and will begin with a knit stitch. When looking at the public side, the tail from the cast on will be on your right. Because I have worked it with 2 colors, it makes it hard to see, but you get a small picot under the knit stitches. This is another swatch in 1 color and you can see the picots a little better. This is another decorative cast on for a single rib. It also makes a picot edge. For a bolder edge, I'm going to use 3 strands of yarn for this cast on. You might want to use a needle 1 to 2 sizes smaller than your rib needle. You will need long tails on the double strands. At the point where you will make a slip knot, and using a second ball or a long strand, lay the cut in toward the ball side of the first strand. Make a slip knot. The double strands will go on your thumb. Now this is the tricky part. Wrap your thumb in the opposite direction than we normally wrap for long tail cast on and wrap it around twice. Make a long tail cast on going under both wraps on the thumb, then make a yarn over. Place your thumb under the strands, double wrap, and make another long tail cast on. Yarn over. Repeat these 2 stitches, ending with the long tail cast on stitch. This cast on has a definite right and wrong side. The row after this cast on will be a wrong side row. As you can see, you get a prominent picot along the edge.